Okay, as promised, I'm going to demonstrate the magic loop method. Let's see if I can adjust my phone a little bit. Okay. All right. I've cast on 20 stitches. And I want to put 10 on each. So the easiest way to do that is to move your stitches down onto the cable. Count the first 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. I like to stick my needle in between and then just pull that cable through. Just like that, and then you've got a loop on the end. This is your working yarn, and it's in the back. You want to make sure your stitches are all facing toward the center. If you had your stitches like that, it would be twisted. So you want them all toward the center like that. You're going to be knitting with this needle that's coming in from the back. So you want the stitches up on this needle. So we'll move these stitches onto this needle. This is really cool yarn, by the way. It's Savanti. I got this a long time ago. But it's a nice, bold, 100% wool. Love it. Okay. So I've got a loop here. I'm gonna pull this needle a little bit farther out. I've got a loop here, and that just gives me enough slack, okay, to easily maneuver this needle around. I'm going to do the ribbing. This is the tail. You don't want to knit with that. You want to always knit with the working yarn going to your yarn ball. I'm going to knit the first stitch. It helps if you try to keep your yarn from, if I were to start here and knitted through, it would be tangled up here like that, you see? So I like to move my needle underneath the yarn, underneath the working yarn like that, and then it stays where I want it to stay. Okay, so we're going to move it to the back and knit. Knit that first, and then purl. Just knitting and purling all the way across. Usually want to use bigger needles for a bulky yarn like this. I don't have any long cables for big size needles. I'm just kind of surprised by that. Okay, so now you're done with the first part of the round. Turn it. Move this needle back so that the new stitches are ready to go. You're going to knit with this needle, so pull it out, leave some slack. You ended with a purl stitch on this side, so you're going to knit again. Start with a knit, knit. Pull it fairly tight so that there's not a big gap. Not really tight, just a little tug is all it takes. Then purl. You can do this with just plain knitting. You can do this with purling. You can do this with cables. You can do this with lace. It is not restricted to just ribbing, but since that's what our sweater is doing, that's what we're going to do here. And almost to the end. Okay, there's our first round. We're going to turn it again. Our working yarn should be here in the back. We're going to be working on these stitches next. So we're going to pull the needle back and put those stitches on. Pull the other one. There's your loop, and you've got enough slack here. And we're going to knit on these stitches here. Knit. Hopefully you're doing this along with me. Try not to go. Well, this is my normal knit. I am not a fast knitter. This is my normal speed. I am not a fast knitter. Especially with this bulky yarn. Okay, there we are. So we're going to turn it again. The working yarn is attached to the ball and in the back. It comes off the back side. These are the stitches that we're going to work next. So we're going to push this needle onto those like that. Okay, that's what it looks like. And then on the top, pull this one through, leaving a little slack. And then we're going to knit again. Knit. Purl. You know, there's something I didn't explain to you in class, but it's not as important with bulky yarn as it is with others. But there's a way to make your ribbing stitches much neater. So after you knit and you move your yarn to the front, do a little tug, and it reduces the amount of yarn that goes from the back to the front, and it makes this purl stitch neater. So just pull a little tug, not, don't strangle it, but just tug it and purl. It's not as important on this side as it is on this side. Do a little tug and you can see the stitch moving. It just reduces the amount of yarn that's going through this part of the stitch in between the two stitches. The other thing that will help you a lot is if you try to work as close to the tips as you can and don't pull your needles apart like this. Try to keep them close, and that will make for neater knitting stitches. And then what you'll see is less of a gap between these two, and the stitches will look just neater on overall. It's just a little tidbit. We've got, I think that's 3 rounds, so that's what it looks like on a bulky yarn. With a size 8 needle, it should be maybe a 10.5 or 11, it would look better. But that's how you do the magic loop. I hope that's helpful.